So from that day, I remember it was it on the 7th of February, 1993. I decided, I didn't know the exact words to say, but I said, Lord, I think you know me. I think this is what you want for me. I said, from now onwards, guide my life. In my heart, that's what I prayed. And to be honest, from then, I got the courage that I never had. And I was bold. I said, you know what? Yes, I am born again. And that time, I started even going to the born again churches, the church there.
Did it cause a lot of tension at home?
That's what made it worse. But my brother, I was not afraid. I don't know where I got the courage. I told my grandparents, this is what I'm choosing to do. If it means that God is going to talk to me, like how he talked to me, like how he knew the situation I'm going through now, and he sent and he showed me the word. So I want that God to have a relationship with him and actually be led by him. So from that day, I started going to the born again church, anyway, it was one, and it wasn't easy. When my uncle came back, it was one day after when my uncle came back. So from then he said, okay, now that you have made up your mind, let those people even pay your school fees. Let those people feed you. Of course, I thought it was a joke. Now, my grandmother, being humble as she was, she kept on saying, my child, write a letter to your uncle, say sorry. So I wasn't seeing the reason why I'm saying sorry. I was like, if I'm saying sorry, that means I'm saying sorry to what I have accepted and I'm stopping. But me, I am not stopping. I have made up my mind. I am not stopping. So what am I going to say sorry for? Because that means I won't mean my sorry. But of course, she kept on insisting, and because she was really worried about my life. And I went there. I told my uncle, I'm sorry. But I didn't say sorry for getting saved. I said, I'm sorry. I just felt this way. And this is what I'm going to do. My uncle was not pleased. And to be honest, because I was in a boarding school in my when I completed my senior 3, a very good boarding school in Fort Portal. He told me, no, I'm not taking you there. You can ask, because he mentioned that lady's name, you can ask them to give you the school fees. And he really stopped. And he told me, okay, go walk and go to, there's a school near, not nearby, but at least a day school. He said, you go to that school. So I thought I would go there, and he's actually still going to pay my school fees. So I went there. They accepted me in senior 4. And I started. It was a long distance. I think it was like about 1 hour and something walk. I walked there for some months, but he never gave me the money. And my grandparents did not have the money. So I ended up not registering. So what was the purpose of studying if you're not going to do exam?
There was no use.
Like, he would come at home, even in the night, and leave the car somewhere so that he can walk and find me before, of course, without hearing the car. Of course, I would be inside. I wouldn't know my uncle is coming. But every time I was lucky. Either my sister saw him and said, he's here. And then I ran. In the night, I ran and hid. So one day, I ran and hid. And then he came and took all my belongings, put everything in the suitcase. The clothes that I was remaining with, I think it was one skirt and one blouse, but the rest was taken. But of course, he was doing all this so that I think I calm down and just like suffer and then go back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm stopping this. Of course, they called it nonsense. I'm stopping this. I'm coming back. But it never happened. And my father, of course, was staying not a distance. It wasn't a long distance from our side. He was the same thing. So what made it worse, even some of my young sisters, when they saw me going to this church, they were like, we are also coming. So they also came. One day my father got a machete and came like chased everyone, like wanting, seriously, like wanting. I'm like, will he really hurt us? But he was serious. So that was the kind of life. And especially my grandmother was really worried. She thought I would either hurt myself or do something because I was tortured, I was rejected, and she thought something might happen to me. So I remember then she looked for money and gave me 10,000. She told me, go to Kampala, because there was my uncle, my maternal side, had a child that side, like Kaihura. So that mother of that child was living in Kampala, and she's the only one who knew where my mother's place is. So she said, my grandmother gave me the money and said, go find that lady and ask her to take you to your mother. And that's what I did. I boarded and came to Kampala. I looked for the lady and I found her. And yeah, so I was like excited knowing I'm going to go to my mother. But to cut it short, she was not willing to go there because she was actually pregnant, but not for my uncle. So I think she was like, how do I go there with this pregnancy? So she said, no, you wait until I give birth. But that wasn't easy because that means she had to feed me. I had to sleep at her house. She was in one room with children and they were sleeping on the papyrus mat. And that actually was my first bed in Kampala. The papyrus mat. It wasn't easy.
Indeed.
But it had to take months, of course. Yeah. So that's how I ended up coming. So when she told me that she's not going to be able to take me, and I could not stay in her house this long, I had no home to go back to because at home, actually, my grandmother felt like I should run away.
Yeah.
So it was hard. I had to kind of look for a home, and that's how I ended up with Romano. Because I had seen him in the village, and so when he knew that I had come, and his friends told him, you know what, Margaret is here now. This is the time. Go. To be honest, like, I had no choice. I think that was the better
way out.
The better way out, rather than like, I can't go home, I can't stay with this lady, I can't go to my mother, but someone is here offering me a home, a house to live in. So yeah, I ended up in his house. Of course, the salvation journey, you would know that it's not the right thing, but I didn't know what to do. I was still young, like I told you, 17. Maybe I had just now turned 18, because that month was my birth month. And yeah, so that's how I ended up there.
And he's the Mr. Romano you're still with up to date.
So yes, he is the Mr. Romano. He's the now my husband. So we stayed together. So before I knew it, even before I had a chance to go to my mother, I was already pregnant. But I happened to see my mom when the lady gave birth. After some time, she said, okay, now I can take you. I went, I saw my mom, but the condition she was in, she was not helpful. She wasn't going to be able to help me. In fact, I was wishing I was able to help her. Yeah. So I had to come back and actually decide to stay with someone for any life. I don't know for how long, but yeah, that's how I ended up in that house and with Roman.
So did it ever cross your mind to have like a regret for the choice you made? Because all I'm seeing was the choice of deciding to become born again that led you into all this. Did you have a moment where you like had regrets?
I wouldn't call them regrets, but I would sit back because I asked myself questions. I would hear testimonies. Oh Lord, you found me. I was this. I was a drunkard. I'm hearing people's testimonies. So I'm like, what did God find me doing? This is the question I always ask myself. I was a student. I grew up in a home where like we really had morals, and I was not able to live a weird life and in any way. But I was like, maybe you have a reason. And the reason I may not know, but I know you saved my life. Okay, you didn't save me from all that, but you saved me to give me a better life, to take me to heaven, to have a relationship with you. So that one I did not regret at any point, even though when I went through this. My only prayer was, God, when I received you, I was in school. Now, I'm a school dropout. Now, I have a child. Now, my future is shattered, because that's what I saw. Because a senior 4 dropout, what am I going to do? And I didn't have hope of going back to school, because where would the money come from? So these are the things. But I said, Lord, since you showed me on that day that you know what I'm going through, and you showed me that you actually want me to become that Christian, I know you'll make a way for me. That's all I kept saying to myself. Though I didn't know how, I didn't see the way through, but I kept believing.
Did he indeed make a way through?
He made a way through, But after long years of struggle, many years of struggle, like I told you, I became pregnant. And then I gave birth to my first son. So after I had given birth to my first son, when he was about 8 months, we separated. Now here I am, because then it was 1994. Now here I am, 19 years old,
Single mother.
with a child, a single mother, with no home to go to. It was like each step was becoming more tough. But I did not stop going to church. I kept going to church, hoping that God has a plan for me, which I don't know how it will, how that plan will unfold. But I decided to hang in there.
You kept on believing.
I kept on believing. So when I left my husband's place, I did not know that I actually gone when I'm 1 month pregnant of a second child. I was young. I didn't know about like family planning or anything. So I left with my child. And I remember fearing to go home. So I decided to stay somewhere, rent a small house, and take care of my kids. I did lots of things to survive, lots of weird businesses, including selling fish. I would go to the... Yes. I stayed somewhere, I rented a house. Until I was tired. At some point, I had to go back home. When my grandmother heard about what I was going through, she again sent me transport to go back home. And she's like, come, even if they don't feed me, I don't care. That's how she would say. Even if they don't feed me, I don't care. Of course, she was talking about my uncle. So I went back home with my first child. Unfortunately, he was sick. He got measles, and he was very sick for a long time. So I stayed there until I gave birth to my second born.
The story goes on. But for now, please allow us to rest it from here. And we are yet to see the goodness of the Lord in Miss Margaret's life.
Amen.